The Shady Oaks nursing home was anything but shady or oak-filled. It was a concrete box on the wrong side of town, with peeling paint, understaffed halls, and the constant smell of disinfectant mixed with despair. That's where my father and uncle decided to put Grandpa William after declaring him incompetent to manage his affairs. "He's losing his mind anyway," my father said without shame as we signed the paperwork. "At least this place is affordable." Affordable was one way to put it. Shady Oaks charged $2,000 a month compared to the $8,000 monthly fee at Sunset Manor, the beautiful facility across town where Grandpa's wealthy neighbors lived out their golden years in dignity. The money saved wasn't going into Grandpa's care. It was going into my father and uncle's pockets as they moved into his sprawling mansion on Hillcrest Drive. "Someone needs to maintain the property," Uncle Frank justified as he loaded his belongings into Grandpa's master bedroom. "We're doing him a favor by keeping the house in the family." My father nodded in agreement as he claimed Grandpa's study. Besides, he doesn't even remember living there anymore. I watched this betrayal with growing disgust. Grandpa had built that house with his own hands in 1965, raising 4 children there while working double shifts at the steel mill. Every room held memories of family dinners, birthday parties, and Christmas mornings. Now, his own sons were treating it like their personal prize while he sat in a dingy nursing home room, staring out a window at a parking lot. "This is wrong," I told my father. "Grandpa deserves better than this place." Dad shrugged. He won't know the difference. "The doctor said his dementia is progressing rapidly." But when I visited Grandpa every Saturday, he seemed perfectly lucid to me. He'd ask about my job, remember details from our previous conversations, and tell stories about his childhood with perfect clarity. "How are you feeling, Grandpa?" I'd ask during each visit. "Trapped," he'd reply with a sad smile. "But I'm glad you come to see me, Tommy. Your father and Frank haven't been here in weeks. They're busy with the house," I'd say, not wanting to hurt him more. Grandpa would nod knowingly. "Yes, I'm sure they are." The staff at Shady Oaks was overworked and underpaid. Grandpa's room was small and cramped, with a broken air conditioner and a bathroom that barely functioned. His meals were often cold, and I frequently found him sitting alone in the common room, while other residents watched television at volumes that hurt my ears. Meanwhile, my father and uncle were living like kings in Grandpa's mansion. They'd installed a pool table in his former workshop, turned his garden into a parking area for their boats, and threw parties every weekend. "We're keeping the house alive," Frank would say when I confronted them. "Grandpa would want it to be enjoyed." "Buy him," I'd reply, "in a proper care facility where he belongs." "We can't afford those fancy places," Dad would counter. "The house expenses are enormous." This was a lie. Grandpa had been wealthy from decades of smart investments and frugal living. His bank accounts held over $800,000, more than enough to pay for the best care available. But my father and uncle had been appointed as his financial guardians, and they controlled every penny. After 6 months at Shady Oaks, Grandpa's health began declining rapidly. Not his mind, his body. The poor food, inadequate medical care, and depression were taking their toll. During my visits, he seemed increasingly frail and tired. "I don't think I have much time left," he told me one Saturday afternoon. "I want you to know that I appreciate you coming to see me. It means more than you know." "Don't talk like that, Grandpa. You're going to be fine." He smiled sadly. "Tommy, I need you to promise me something. After I'm gone, clean out my room here yourself. Don't let your father or Frank do it." "What?" "Just promise me. There are things I want you to have, things they shouldn't see." I promised, not understanding what he meant, but respecting his wishes. Grandpa passed away peacefully in his sleep 2 weeks later. I got the call at 6 a.m. from the nursing home director. My father and uncle showed up at Shady Oaks within an hour, eager to clear out Grandpa's room and tie up loose ends. "We'll handle everything," Dad announced to the staff. No need for anyone else to be involved. But I remember my promise to Grandpa. "I want to pack his personal things myself," I said firmly. "He asked me to." Dad looked annoyed. "Tommy, we can handle this. You don't need to put yourself through it." It's what he wanted. Reluctantly, they agreed to let me clean out Grandpa's room while they went to make funeral arrangements. Grandpa's room was sparse. A few changes of clothes, some photographs, a small television, and a stack of books. But as I was packing his clothes, I noticed something odd about his nightstand drawer. The drawer seemed shallower than it should have been. I removed it completely and found a hidden compartment behind it. Inside was a small leather journal. I opened it with trembling hands and began to read. What I found made my blood boil. The journal entries were dated over the past 8 months, starting just before Grandpa was moved to Shady Oaks. March 15th, Frank and Robert came to see me today. They want me to sign papers giving them power of attorney over my finances. They say it's for my own good, that I'm getting forgetful. I'm not forgetful. I remember everything. But they seem determined to paint me as incompetent. March 22nd, they've scheduled me for a psychological evaluation. The doctor they chose is Dr. Morrison, Frank's golf buddy. I suspect this evaluation will conclude exactly what they want it to conclude. April 3rd, the evaluation was a sham. Dr. Morrison asked me simple questions and then wrote down that I seemed confused and disoriented. I was neither. When I protested, he said that denial of symptoms was itself a symptom of dementia. It's a perfect trap. April 10th, they're moving me out of my house tomorrow. Frank says they found me a nice place where I'll be well cared for. Robert keeps talking about how expensive good care is, how we need to be practical about costs. They think I don't understand what they're doing. April 11th, this place is a nightmare. The staff is overwhelmed, the food is terrible, and my room smells like mold. Meanwhile, I can see from the paperwork that my sons are paying themselves $5,000 a month each as caregivers and property managers for my accounts. April 25th, I try to call my lawyer today, but the phone in the common room doesn't work, and they won't let me use the office phone. When I asked about getting my own phone line installed, they said family members have to authorize all changes. Frank and Robert control everything now. May 8th, Tommy visited today. He's the only one who still treats me like a human being. His father and uncle haven't been here in 3 weeks, but they're living in my house, using my pool, driving my cars. I feel like a prisoner in my own life. The entries continued for months, documenting my father and uncle's systematic theft and abuse. Grandpa had been perfectly lucid the entire time, watching helplessly as his own sons robbed him blind while warehousing him in substandard care. But the most shocking entries were near the end. October 15th. I've been documenting everything in this journal. Names, dates, amounts stolen, evidence of fraud. I've also been recording conversations when Frank and Robert visit. They think I'm too senile to understand what they're saying, but I understand perfectly. October 20th. I've hidden copies of all financial documents they made me sign. They're in the false bottom of my old jewelry box, the one I gave to Tommy's grandmother. I pray he finds them after I'm gone. October 30th. I'm getting weaker every day. The stress and poor care are killing me faster than old age ever would. But I prepared everything Tommy will need to expose the truth. My real will is with Attorney Collins on Main Street, not the fake one Frank had drawn up. November 5th. This may be my last entry. I can feel my body failing, but my mind is as sharp as ever. I want the world to know that I died aware of what my sons did to me. They stole my money, my dignity, and my final years. But they didn't steal my memory or my ability to seek justice from beyond the grave. I sat on Grandpa's narrow bed, crying as I read his final words. He'd been trapped, aware, and documenting everything while everyone believed he was losing his mind. The jewelry box he mentioned was in my apartment. Grandma had left it to me when she died, and I'd kept it on my dresser for sentimental reasons. I rushed home and examined the box carefully. Sure enough, there was a hidden compartment in the bottom containing photocopies of financial documents, recorded conversations on small cassette tapes, and a copy of Grandpa's real will. The evidence was damning. Bank statements showing $5,000 monthly payments to my father and uncle. Recordings of them laughing about Grandpa's fake dementia act and discussing how much money they were saving by keeping him at Shady Oaks. Most shocking was a recording where Frank said, "The old bastard probably knows exactly what we're doing, but who's going to believe a senile old man?" Dad had laughed and replied, "Even if he complains, we'll just increase his medication." Dr. Morrison will back us up. The real will left everything to me, with specific instructions that my father and uncle were to receive nothing due to their elder abuse and financial exploitation. I took everything to Attorney Collins, the lawyer mentioned in Grandpa's diary. Your grandfather came to see me 8 months ago, Collins said. He was completely lucid and very angry about what his sons were doing to him. We prepared all these documents in secret. Is this evidence enough to prosecute them? Collins smiled grimly. It's enough to send them both to prison for elder abuse, fraud, and embezzlement. The recordings alone are devastating. The funeral was held 3 days later. My father and uncle gave touching eulogies about their beloved father and his struggle with dementia. They played the part of grieving sons perfectly. I sat in the front row, holding Grandpa's diary, waiting for the right moment. After the service, as everyone gathered at the mansion for the reception, I stood up and asked for everyone's attention. I'd like to share something Grandpa wrote, I announced, pulling out the diary. My father looked nervous. Tommy, maybe this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, I said firmly. I began reading selected entries aloud. The room grew silent as Grandpa's words revealed the truth about his final months. By the time I finished, my father and uncle had turned pale, and several family members were staring at them with disgust. These are the fantasies of a sick man, Frank protested weakly. Then you won't mind explaining these, I said, pulling out the financial documents and playing one of the recorded conversations. My father's voice filled the room. The old bastard probably knows exactly what we're doing, but who's going to believe a senile old man? The reception ended quickly as family members left in shock and anger. My father and uncle were arrested the next morning. The trial lasted 6 months. The evidence was overwhelming, and Grandpa's diary provided a chilling first-hand account of elder abuse. Both men were convicted on multiple felony charges and sentenced to 5 years in prison. They were also ordered to pay full restitution of the stolen funds. I used Grandpa's inheritance to establish the William Henderson Foundation for Elder Rights, providing legal advocacy for seniors who can't protect themselves from family exploitation. The mansion on Hillcrest Drive was sold, with the proceeds going to improve conditions at nursing homes across the state. But the most important outcome was that Grandpa's story was heard. His diary was published as part of an awareness campaign about elder abuse, and his words continued to help other families recognize the warning signs. In his final entry, Grandpa had written, I may die in this terrible place, but I won't die forgotten or unavenged. The truth has a way of surviving, even when the person who speaks it doesn't. He was right. The truth did survive, and justice was served. My father and uncle learned that stealing from a supposedly senile old man was the biggest mistake of their lives. Grandpa may have died in that awful nursing home, but his mind was sharp until the very end, and his final act was to ensure that his abusers would face the consequences they deserved.